All right, look out for Charlie here. I've been holding on to this information for a long time, and I've been experimenting with it to make sure that it actually does something. And it does, and I'm ready to actually put this out. Like when I put out the end of electronic harassment symptoms video years ago, I had been doing that stuff for a while. I didn't just do it and then go, all right, I'm going to put out a video. I wanted to make sure that it was actually legit information. Um, in the last year or so, I've been talking about how this fungus, how we need to force oxygen into our cells. And I did quite a bit of research, and being hooked up to like a hyperbaric chamber or having like an oxygen tank on you all the time, it gets on the ridiculous side. I mean, you can't do it. So I was looking for other ways, and I knew there had to be something out there that you could take that forces oxygen into your cells. And I found it, and it works. It's really crazy what happens. Because as we know, and as most of you already know, this stuff is in the atmosphere. It's in your proximity all the time. I mean, you can clean yourself up from this stuff, and you're going to come back into contact with it. So the best thing to do is to just keep fighting it if you can. And what I found that forces oxygen into your cells is sulfur, MSM crystals. But the shit from vitamin stores is pasteurized. It's been heated to kill stuff off. And it doesn't work for shit. It doesn't work at all. You have to find unpasteurized MSM. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to read to you guys my notes from taking it. I think that's the best way to explain exactly what happens when you start taking this stuff. Let's start with first dose. I only took 2 teaspoons because it was my first dose. I don't recommend going any higher than what they tell you to do. It's just a teaspoon a day. Just keep doing it. Slow and steady wins the race. Don't go nuts and start taking more of this stuff than you should be, because it's not going to do any more for you. And it's not cheap either. The stuff isn't cheap. So what this does is it forces oxygen into all your cells. My first dose was 2 teaspoons. And in my notes it says instant oxygen high. And then I felt heavy, my guts churned, and then I slept feeling heavy and not well. It almost had like a detox effect to it. The next dose, the next day, a little less gut churning and an oxygen high. The third day, I had no gut churning and an instant oxygen high, but this time I felt good instead of bad. Same night, I went to lie down, and I could see some flashes in front of my eyes while my eyes were closed. I kept waking up all night during sleep, and that hasn't happened in years, which is true. I sleep really heavy, like coma sleep. It's ridiculous. When I woke up, or during my sleep, I woke up, and I had a headache at the top of my head and after waking up. And it was like the only way I can explain it, it's like one of those nitrogen keg beer headaches, like a hangover from keg beer. My left leg started cramping up that night, numerous times. And to the point where it actually like felt like I almost injured my left leg because it was cramping up. It was really weird. Let's see, the next day, it seemed like I had more natural oil on my skin, because ever since this crap started, it's like something is eating up the oil in my skin. You know that shit that they dumped in they had found this enzyme that eats oil, and they dumped it in the Gulf of Mexico for oil spills? It's almost like something like that is eating up the oil on your skin, because there isn't any. The next day, it feels like the left leg is cramping back up all day since sleeping, or injured for the cramping. The next day after that, headaches, muscle twitches, legs and arms feel as though they were vibrating quickly after doing something. So if I lifted something up, let's say something in my garage, or I was working on something, after I would do it, it would feel like my muscles were vibrating after that. And I wrote here, keg beer hangovers, because that's exactly what it felt like. Feeling weak, cramping is gone, weak in knees. Skin, especially face, making proper oil again, Feels like glass and junk coming out of my pores, especially nose. Massive detox effect. Worst face ache of my life. Sinuses are better. And then it says, same, slept better, clarity. So clearly I felt more clear during that period. And then it continues on, and basically I'm saying no more headaches, muscle twitches here and there, a little bit of sinus pain, sleeping better, and at one point here, it started to feel as though something was burning. It's the only way I can describe this. It felt like something was burning on my brain, like in the front top of my skull. It literally felt like something was burning off my brain, like sizzling off my brain. It was the weirdest feeling ever. And that lasted a couple days, and I could also feel that deep burning sensation in my left lower leg, like around my shin area, my calf area. It felt like something was burning off there, and it was fucking weird. And then it eventually stopped. But this stuff, it works, and the clarity factor is huge. I think the biggest factor in this is finding sulfur that hasn't been pasteurized. Because what I did was eventually I stopped taking it. I went to flat out vitamin store sulfur, right? And it didn't do anything. Like my symptoms started to like reverse. My skin started to dry up again. Not terribly, but you could tell that it wasn't doing the same thing that the unpasteurized stuff was doing. So the difference was huge. One more thing about the sulfur. Sulfur is only in your system for 12 hours. It's out of your system in 12 hours. So you can take a teaspoon, no more than a teaspoon, once every 12 hours. And you will see positive effects. Come back here, and if you do this, and talk about the effects that it had on you in the comments. Because there's people that are naysaying a lot of the older stuff because it doesn't match up with their theory. They're saying, oh, well, that doesn't match up with my theory, so it can't work. You know, you can use this, but it's not going to do much for you because it doesn't line up with. Well, guess what? The stuff that I used in the past got rid of my symptoms majorly, and other people as well. So people are fighting fact, and they're not trying it with the fact that it doesn't line up with their theory about how this is being done, right? So come back here and tell people what's going on so that people can actually see what's up. I try to choose my words pretty carefully in these videos, but I'm just going to flat out start laying stuff out. I believe personally, now I'm not saying this is fact, but I believe personally that it takes years for this to build up in your system. You have it in your system, it starts to grow and build up, and then eventually you come online. You become electromagnetically sensitive to what's going on. And when you knock that down, when you chisel it down, you still may have it in your system, but your symptoms go away. Okay? And I think that everything that I've talked about before knocks this stuff out of your system, out of your skin, and out of your organs enough to at least knock the symptoms away. It still may be coming at you, like what I've talked about. I still have, at times I'll get a tinnitus in my ear. Well, that certainly means that I still have some of this in my system because it's an artificial tinnitus. But when you knock it down enough, you get rid of the shitty, horrible, rotten symptoms. And I'm talking about the hardcore stuff. So if we can keep finding things that knocks this down to an acceptable level, then you can pretty much live pain-free. I can live with tinnitus. After everything I've been through, I can live with tinnitus, no big deal, right? Skin issues, not a big deal. I mean, I don't like it. It bugs me, but it's better than the rest of the shit. So hopefully this helps you guys out. Let me know how it goes if you decide to do it. Which brings me to my last point. This is being done intentionally. This is intentional. It's absolutely intentional, and it needs to be squashed. A lot of people have came to my videos and left comments, saying, this coming from the guy that says this is all nothing but a fungus. That's not what I'm saying at all. I'm being misquoted so many times. I'm saying that they're using fungal graphene and elements like that as a sensitizer to attack people with. Not that it's just a fungus and people are imagining things. People are being attacked and this shit is being used as a sensitizer. So we need to either figure out a way to completely squash it or nail these fuckers. It's been going on way too long. And they just keep getting away with it and getting away with it. I mean, you can go through news clips practically every day and find this. Ghost hunters, ghost adventures. Yeah, half of those episodes are about electronic harassment, and they're sitting there, like, going through this shit and investigating it as though they're demons or some shit. It's like, fucking come on, man. Like, come on. Like, I just watched one, like a recent one, and I was practically pulling my hair out.